Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Hideout. We've got a stack panel today, again with the new format where we're going to be kind of hitting everything Web3 gaming and Metaverse. So more of an open format. We really loved the engagement we had last week with this format, so we're going to keep doing it, and we're super excited to have a great panel today. We'll let everybody introduce themselves. And I'll go one by one through. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Frontera. I am the CEO and project lead. I'm the CEO of Apollo Entertainment, which is the company behind the Satoshiverse, and I'm the project lead for the Satoshiverse project. For those of you who don't know about the Satoshiverse, we are building a Web3 enabled superhero universe with blockchain themes throughout. For the last 2 years, we've been building a high fidelity roguelike RPG game for PC that is called Satoshi's Legions. We're super excited about that. We've been working on it a ton. We've got a 30-person team working on that game full time, and we're already released a community alpha, and we'll be releasing an open alpha now in the next 2 months. So we're really excited about that, to open it up to the world. But if you want to check out Satoshiverse, check out the socials, check out the website. But what we're really here for today is our panel. So we'll get right into it with introductions, and then Spencer will take it away with questions for everybody. But really excited to have everybody here. Why don't we start off with Matt from Broadside? Super excited to have you on the panel, Matt.
Hey, Nick, thanks so much for having me on. Really great to be here.
All
Yeah,
right.
so
Give us a little, introduction of what you're building and yourself, and then we'll jump into everything.
yeah, sure thing. So I'm one of the co-founders of a project called Broadside. Broadside began as a very kind of story-driven NFT project. It's this decentralized book that we've been releasing over the last 6 months. We gave our community full commercial rights to their Broadsiders, and quite by sort of no doing of myself or my co-founders, the community completely pivoted into being one of the most engaged communities in the metaverse. They built themselves several spaces now, 3 spaces, one on Roblox, one on Mona, one on Cyber that just went up this week. And the Broadside Rave Warehouse has big music parties and stuff, and it was built in December, and by January it was the most visited space that month in all metaverses. So it's something that we've been paying a lot of attention to. Broadside's a story about gaming. So we're really excited to chat Web3 gaming today, and all the ways the metaverse is going. My background, I've been in decentralized technology for a long time now. I started life as a pirate radio DJ, which still I think is the ultimate form of decentralized tech. But I've held leadership positions at companies like BitTorrent back in the day when Bitcoin was just warming up. I was CMO at Kraken. I was employee number one at Palm NFT Studio that built the DC Comics NFT platform and did the Damien Hirst currency drop, among other things. And I've been in NFTs sort of pretty much exclusively since 2020. So just, yeah, really excited about the space, and really excited to be on this panel with you guys today.
Thanks so much, Matt. Well, we're stoked to have you. Big fans of what you guys are building at Broadside, and I love the Bat Cows release that you guys did with DC. So huge fan here. Happy to have you. Let's talk with let's go next to Eric Chang from W3W Web3 Where.
Hey everyone, and hey Nick, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. A little bit about W3W. Yeah, as Nick mentioned, Web3ware was what we used to call ourselves because we were actually exclusively in providing physical utility to the space. But a little bit about what we're doing here. We kind of pivoted, I would say, probably half a year ago. So we've actually built an all-in-one platform that aims to solve the challenge of like managing and understanding your community. So if you think of how projects are doing this right now, it's really managing them across a lot of different tools like Twitter, Discord, Telegram, spreadsheets. I'm sure everyone has kind of that experience, and it gets to be a bit painful. Some projects might not even know who their whales or big spenders are, so that's kind of a problem. So what we're trying to do here, our goal is really to ensure blockchain's movement forward and wider adoption. So we want to provide a backbone for these projects to be able to understand their community and leverage the data to move their project forward. A little bit about myself. My background has been actually in Web2 data. So I've worked at quite a few companies, mainly startups, pushing the data part forward and really trying to help the non-technical people understand data. So I don't know if anyone here has, was a data analyst or worked with data analysts. Like if you don't know SQL, if you don't know how to query a database, it's really tough to get any sort of value out of the data. So yeah, really excited to be here. I'm a huge gamer myself. I don't know if anyone is has dove into Diablo 4. I actually got the early access, so I've been playing over the past week. And yeah, I think gaming in blockchain is definitely going to be the future, and looking forward to talking here and moving the space forward.
Amazing. Well, I will say that I am surviving on coffee right now because I also got the Diablo 4 early release the other day and almost beat it last night during the wee hours. So that's actually probably my Diablo series, probably my favorite game series of all time. So definitely a fan here as well, and a fan of you guys. We just actually announced a partnership with I'll stop calling it Web3 Where W3W the other day because we're really excited about what they're doing on the analytics front. Personally, I love data, and I think knowledge is power. And in my mind, one of the things that NFTs do is they allow you to engage with your communities in ways that weren't before possible. And I think some of the incentive-based structures that we talk about with ownership and NFTs are made so much more powerful through data analytics, and we can really do a lot of fun stuff if we know, how people are owning the NFTs, how people are using them, whether they're using them in games. So I'm super excited about Web3, I just said I would stop. W3W's new platform, and excited to have them on board as a partner. Let's jump to another analytics, one that's been around for a long time. We've got Boris from DApp Radar here to talk about DApp Radar and all that they're building.
Good day. Sorry. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. I'm Boris Rebo. I'm an analyst at DApp Radar. We're the world's foremost dApp store, seen by millions and used by billions. We are essentially the place where you can come discover and analyze different dApps, whether you're into gaming, NFTs, DeFi, or any other kind of dApps. Basically the place for you to see the unique active wallet counts, trading volumes. If you want to discover specific NFTs, you can use our portfolio tool to analyze the specific content of anybody's wallet. And you can also discover various dApps that are trending. My personal experience, what I do is I make sure that all the data is aggregated, that we're tracking the data correctly, that we're presenting the data, and as well as skimming all the information and trying to look at the developing trends that are happening in the dApp industry. My personal background is actually I started in investment banking. I worked as a quantitative analysis in the German private banks, and afterwards switched to dApps. Actually, my experience in the dApp world or in cryptocurrency goes all the way back when you used to use graphics cards, AMD cards specifically, to mine for Bitcoins. And I started all the way back in 2012 and really got into it at around 2016.
Incredible, Boris. Well, super excited to have you here. I got into the space back in 2017, and there weren't a ton of analytics tools, so I was a big fan of DApp Radar and all you guys have done, especially as you know the metaverse and more dApps have come to be. It's been awesome to have that as a resource. So thank you for joining, and we're excited to get into it with you. And the last guest that we have on the panel before we turn to Spencer is is it Goran or Goran from Horror Games and Crypto Idol Miner.
Hey Nick, hey everybody. Thank you for joining us on this excellent space today. My name is Goran, and I am a founder and CEO of the Horror Games company. The Horror Games company has created a game Crypto Idol Miner, which is one of the first play-to-earn games published on both mobile devices, mobile app stores. We have published our game in 2018. It was the beta version, and right now we are near 1 million users on both platforms. So as one of the pioneers in play-to-earn gaming, right now we are working on expanding our universe of the games, and we are going deeper into the Web3. So this year we have announced the Horrorverse, which is the universe of our upcoming games and the Web3 tools that currently we are working on. And one of the new projects that are going to be published in this or the next year will be the NFT City Miner. That is the game, which is the natural evolution of Crypto Idol Miner, and it will be built around the NFTs. Exactly. So yeah, that's what we are working on. My personal background are coming from the gaming industry. I have been work as the game producer in one company here in the Serbia, and before that I have worked in the Web2 space, creating various mobile applications and web applications for the clients.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, 1 million users is an incredible number in the Web3 space. So really excited to get your perspective on how you got there and some of the issues that are rising now, especially when we talk about bringing games to the mainstream public. So thank you for joining us. And then last but not least, we've got Spencer on the Apollo Entertainment account, who's going to be our host for today. And we'll be taking it away with the questions for the panel. Spencer, why don't you give a quick introduction and then we can jump in.
Sure thing. Thanks, Nick. My name is Spencer Vogel. I've been working with Satoshiverse and Apollo for the last couple of years on the business development and strategy side of things. And I've been hosting our spaces for the last, nine months almost now that we've been doing this. Just the format, we're going to first get into some questions that are for everyone in the group. We can go around and feel free to just jump in. We can make it more discussion based, but I'll call on people if there's a long conversation, and then we'll get into some individual questions for each of you as well, so you guys can showcase your projects and what you're working on. So the first question is to everyone, and maybe Matt, you can start us off. If you could bring one real world experience into the metaverse, what would it be and why?
Yeah, you guys sent me this question yesterday, and I was thinking about it for a long time. So I have an issue with this question. I think it's like the wrong definition of the metaverse, because in my mind the metaverse includes the real world, right? Like it's to me the metaverse is networked, socially connected objects and environments, and some of them are AR and some of them are VR and some of them are NFTs. So I was like, wait, what does it mean? Like, where do I bring this, and what's the real world object? So I don't know, but I just went down, my brain just went down that rabbit hole of, well, wait, what is the metaverse? So I'm not sure I can answer it, but if you like kick me under the table, I will.
Yeah, I mean, I think I share your kind of broader definition of the metaverse that I think most people are now adopting as we look at all the technologies that are factoring in. I guess maybe a different way of thinking about this question, which is where I think about the metaverse and how I distinguish between that and what I might call quote unquote a real life event, is just what experiences that are traditionally physical, non-digital experiences might be enhanced digitally. So, kind of, Kiki, that's kind of how I thought about this question when Spencer sent it over to me. And I guess for me, I'm stoked, like you said, about AR. I think that AR and VR have the potential to really augment a lot of physical experiences that we already do, and make those experiences so much more engaging. So when I think about the metaverse, and what I'd love to see is just football stadiums full of people watching a AR enhanced battle that actually isn't occurring but feels like it's occurring,
Mhm.
because it is it's happening in a physical location, with all the background aesthetics and space and all that the physical world provides. So for me, it's about that hybridization of physical and digital experiences, and maybe that, I don't know, maybe that would influence your insight,
Yeah.
but that's kind of my response to this.
Yeah, well, look, thank you, Nick. That's really helpful. Not to shill, but I think you're going to love Broadside, because that's literally the story of Broadside. Broadside is this game. It's an AR game that the kids in the story play outside, and they're wearing these suits, these like haptic armor suits called bone suits, and they have these shock pads in them. So, like, if you're playing an AR capture the flag game and I've got the flag and you shoot me, my suit knocks me over. And that was sort of the missing. That was actually, so this is my answer. That was sort of the missing piece for me when I wrote Broadside was, being able to actually physically influence each other in the real world brings a new dimension to the whole metaverse experience. Whether you're playing someone in the same environment or not, you could have someone in a metaverse environment online shoot you, and you could be in the stadium and you could still fall over. Like, stuff like that gets really interesting all of a sudden.
Boris, you have any thoughts?
To be honest, I'm kind of put there on the spot. Honestly, at this point in time, I honestly can't think of anything. I'm just thinking of the usual activities that I enjoy. And the metaverse at this point in time literally has everything. I mean, you can go to a concert, you can have a virtual yoga class with all your friends. There's plenty of things to socialize. Even sports has become a social event where you have dApps like Steppen, where essentially you're encouraged to move and then you're rewarded for it. So honestly, the metaverse is very much all encompassing. The only thing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's probably already digital workspaces, kind of like WeWork, where you can just connect with all your fellow colleagues, work together on a project. So honestly, I'm stumped at this moment.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys saw. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to take the opposite of this and to tell that to me the metaverse is not about it bringing the real world experiences. We should not escape from the real world. Instead, we should use it to explore the new experiences, like the gaming it was before. So actually, I was thinking what real world experience I would like to see in the metaverse. And if we are thinking in the terms of VR or AR, I would like to see maybe some airplane driving simulation where I can experience something that I will not probably do it in my real life, if you understand me. So that's how I'm thinking about the metaverse, and not to be the exchange for the real life things.
Well, actually, I think that's an excellent point, right? I mean, there's many things like potentially going to space or skydiving or,
Yeah.
exploring the deep depths of the ocean that we probably won't get to do in our lifetimes absent some sort of, digital experience. And, I think as VR technology becomes more immersive, and the hardware gets better, and we have touch suits like Matt was mentioning, and the stuff that you see in like Ready Player One, or some sort of haptics. I've been watching Peripheral, a couple months back, and so there's interesting applications there where we might be able to simulate experiences that are real world experiences, but are, either far too risky or far too expensive to experience in real life. And I think the metaverse and really particularly VR opens that up. But I mean, for me, it's also, I've had discussions with a few different popular artists in the NFT space, and I think the potential for VR to open up creative expression in particular, and to have our top creative minds, instead of creating art pieces, creating artistic experiences that can just be experienced in a completely different way. I think that's something that is going to be uniquely available in either VR or AR, that's just going to enhance either the world around us or this, digital space that we can experience through virtual reality. So I definitely think that's a great point.
Can I just interject? Just something that occurred to me just momentarily. You guys heard that Elon Musk is doing trials on his Neuralink, and he already patented it, and it's in later stages of production. It's entirely possible that in the near future we're going to have a total recall like scenario where you can essentially simulate memories or experiences entirely inside your own mind, and that will be the new frontier of virtual reality. I mean, do you think that's something feasible? That's something where virtual reality or the metaverse could possibly go?
I can jump in on that one. Yeah, I think there's so many things you can unpack there with the idea of like an immersive memory that you could, like, where do you store those things and how do you store those things is something again we thought about with the writing of Broadside, but it's just something I've been thinking about more actually since then. Is like one of the things you could do is like you can have a memory or a simulated memory, but you can also have collections of memories. Like right now we've got these like loose knit networks that you see that sort of spring up around, anytime there's like a riot or violence or something in the streets, people will start filming things and pinning things to Google Maps. Like doing that in real time and like creating, like, how is the way that we record history going to change collectively? Like the individual memories, the immersive memories you could have, all the crazy experiences you could have on a personal level is one thing, but like collectively, what's it going to do to us when you can simulate a memory, or you can pin a real memory to a place or to a sort of moment in time? Like that stuff starts to get mad. And I think one of the things about, it's been mad this year seeing the sort of pivot away from Web3 and NFTs and the metaverse especially by sort of the VC community towards AI. And it's like none of this AI stuff, like if we're going to make all this new stuff, blockchain just gets more important, because you're going to want to verify, you're going to need provenance for all of these things we create: memories, simulated memories, new stories, all of the content that we will be putting out there that works in different way. And there will be very real and very, very like, critical to us to understand, like, is this thing that I'm watching, is this real? Is it not? Like, who made it? Why did they make it? Like, those things are just going to get more important.
Eric, do you have anything to add to this before we move on to our next question?
I kind of share the same feeling. I think when you're talking about the real world slash metaverse, I forgot who said this, but I think that still is very separate. But to Nick's point, like creating some of these experiences that are something like sort of like a bucket list. I think that's kind of where my brain went to when I saw this question. Um, it's kind of like bucket list things where you can simulate that, but don't necessarily need to like travel across the world to do something, to, I don't know, see or climb the pyramids of Egypt if that's possible in the future. But yeah, I definitely think in terms of like the real world side, or like maybe if we bring it to the gaming side, as Nick mentioned earlier, he's running on fumes, on coffee fumes, because you've been playing Diablo 4 for so long. I think, I know a lot of the people are building this in this space now, but the simple thing of just, you grind so long in some of these MMORPGs, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's why we all play it. But like at the end of the day, my question is, can I make some money off of this somehow? And there's always like these MMO like third party websites where you can sell your items and stuff like that in the game. But in terms of like making that an official like on chain transaction and making it an official item that you personally have gained from playing this game for 24 hours straight. I think that's something that will definitely incentivize gaming moving to this space, and also doing like very simple verification of the ownership of the item, rather than I don't know if any of you have played Diablo way back in the day, but like people were like duping items, and I'm sure that that exists in other MMOs. But I'm just using Diablo as an example since we're on that topic. But yeah, verifying that this is a real item, this is created, and this, I'm buying something from Nick, and he is actually the owner. He's the one who found it. He's the one who minted it. All those different things involved with it. In terms of the whole metaverse, not to bring like anime into this, I know like Ready Player One is kind of like the real world version, or like the some of it's CGI, the non animated version of like the going into some sort of metaverse. But I don't know if anyone has ever watched like the anime Sword Art Online. That one's kind of like diving into the metaverse and it kind of affecting the real world. It's really interesting that I thought that was just kind of a show, a fantasy, but like now it's becoming very real, and it'd be interesting how we are moving into this space of metaverse slash kind of like a real world experience. I wouldn't call it a real world, but it's like going to experience something you've never experienced before that you only could have imagined is now becoming a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things. First, one of my biggest disappointments actually right now with Diablo 4 is their item system and how everything is account bound. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
I think that's a whole different discussion on how the traditional gaming industry is actually seemingly becoming more centralized in a lot of places, and in order to maintain a certain gaming experience. And I think we're going to see kind of a fork in the road of companies embracing more of a decentralized game economy versus those kind of trying to centralize the experience. And everything that I loved about Diablo was trading items and making that market and the player economy. So that was I don't think I'll spend probably the 500 to 600 hours, if not more, that I put into Diablo 2 on this new one, just because it lacks that. It'll probably be beat the game and be done with it. And I think there's something to that. And I think that ultimately this probably won't be a good decision for Blizzard, and they might change course in the future. So we'll see. But I guess one thing I wanted to mention before we move on that I forgot to mention before is that if anyone, any of the speakers have anything they want to pin to the group, please do pin it so that people can learn more about your projects. The Twitter, if it's not your Twitter, pin the projects, something from the project's Twitter so that everybody can go and look at it. I'm going to pin, a recent tweet that we did with one of our boss fights, just so that people can kind of see the gameplay and some of the cinematics. But I definitely encourage you guys to do that. And anyone watching, please do follow all the panelists and check out their projects. We do a lot of culling through our guests to try to find some really awesome guests. So please do check them out and thank them for their time. But moving on, Spencer, back to you.
Yeah, Goran, I saw that you had your hand raised. Do you have something else to add there before we move on?
Yeah, I would like to add something. My opinion is that the first successful metaverse will be probably built around the great economy itself. So it's not about only the experience that you can get from the project, but it's about how the good economy of that project will be built, so the users can utilize the blockchain, so users can utilize the NFTs, so they can trade between themselves. So probably the starting of the next big metaverse will be not in some space. It will be based only on the trading with the NFTs that something like Yuga Labs is doing already. And what we are doing is that we are trying to bring the real world mining experience into the blockchain. So our next project, NFT City Miner, will be about the digital NFT mining rigs that are mining the real cryptocurrency called the Hora coin. And that Hora coin will be backed by Ethereum, which will be used to buy those NFTs. So we will make the guaranteed floor price of our NFTs, and we will guarantee the minimum price of the Hora coins.
Awesome, thanks. Goran, so maybe since you're up there, I'll throw this next one back to you. This is another question for everyone, though. So how can we combat some of the negative stereotypes and misconceptions about cryptocurrency and NFTs to bring new people into the space? Goran, do you want to start us off with that one?
So I think unfortunately there is two ways. One way is to create a project where people can earn a lot of money, and those projects doesn't work in the long term. We have seen various projects like X Infinity, StepN, where the people have really great earning opportunities at the beginning, and they needed to invest some money, and those money are back in for about 1 month. When somebody heard that, they doesn't have any problem to install the wallet, to learn anything about Web3. So there is no obstacles for those people to enter the space. And I think there is some better way to attract the people, and the only way that can work in the long term is to make big companies enter the space first, and they will try to bring their audiences into the blockchain space. So we, as a companies, I think we should make some good and great examples to the big companies. Big companies will follow that, and their audience will follow those big companies. One of the great examples is the Reddit, what they have done with the NFTs. They have implemented the technology, and the users doesn't even know it is a blockchain, for example. So we need to create a great user experience first, and we should create an entry point where the users doesn't need to set up wallet and set up everything that today Web3 requires. First, we will need to attract the users to the project, and then move on through the funnel and let them create a wallet at some point. So we should maybe reward them with some NFT and teach them how to use it and move to the wallet and enter the space.
Eric, any ideas on how we combat some of these negative stereotypes and misconceptions?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's always going to be some bad actors in every single space. I mean, Web 2 has hackers, scammers, just like Web 3. So I don't think that's any different. I do agree that it really would take, I think, for mass adoption to come through, is these bigger companies to start moving towards blockchain. For example, I believe at GDC this year, Nexon announced that they were putting MapleStory or making Web3 version of MapleStory. So I think that's definitely like the way that the adoption or mass adoption towards this space is going to happen. And also, like, there's definitely like gamers, like, or I don't know if everyone here is a gamer, but I would say majority of us are, since we're in this space. But I think just as a community, like, talking to these companies, raising the awareness of it, like something as simple as bringing like Diablo 4, this, just to use that example again, into this Web3 space where if you're finding items, if you're upgrading, if you're grinding, like that item is yours. The economy is brought back to this space, and I think that's really a good way to bring that sort of aspect back into the game. I mean, I grew up playing these games, so like that's how I learned economics, to be quite fair. And if we can bring this back into the space, it's another way for younger people, younger generations to learn stuff that they didn't think they would learn through just schooling. And economics is something that I majored in, and I already pretty much knew everything when I went into university, just from playing games and acting or trading within the economy. So yeah, I definitely think for wide adoption, it would need Web2 companies to bring their IPs into Web3.
Yeah, I mean, I agree there, Eric, and I think that that's unfortunately one of the biggest issues we have in this space. And I think as someone developing a game in the space, you start to really see all the reasons that companies may not want to be Web3 companies, and it's tough. It's not. I mean, we talk a lot about the barriers to entry for Web2 consumers, right? And so, when just a tiny bit of background, when I got involved in the space back in 2017, I was working as an entertainment lawyer, an IP lawyer, and I was really interested in NFTs as a technology, the NFTs as a PFP project, the big money, the memberships, all that stuff came later, and it was interesting. But at its core, to me, NFTs were just a technological standard that would allow us to have digital property rights, which in my mind were necessary if we ever wanted to get to the metaverse and have like real licensing structures and from a very legal standpoint. But the problem is, because of all the hype around these PFP projects, I think what was originally, I think, intended to be a very consumer focused tool, right? A very consumer focused technology that really, especially in the gaming industry, empowered gamers, gave them rights to their items, really all upside in my mind for gamers, it really got tainted. And we started to see, in my mind, what it was going to take to get companies to switch from a revenue model that essentially was one way beneficial to them to something that would be more egalitarian was the consumers simply demanded it, right? Consumers said, oh, this game doesn't have NFTs, this game isn't using blockchain technology, we won't play it, right? And that didn't happen. In fact, gamers started to hate NFTs. And I think that as a result of a lot of these PFP projects where as an ape owner myself, I think it's a bit hypocritical to talk about this, but where people are paying thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for a JPEG of a monkey, and that's what's in all the headlines, and that's what people are talking about, completely misses the point of NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at least what I viewed as the value prop of NFTs, right? So my hope was that it would be led by consumer demand. It's not, and that's tough, right? Right now, at least. So you go to the flip side, you say, okay, why would a business want to build using NFTs? What are the implementations of the technology that are unique to giving consumers these rights, to creating these digital asset rights? You really would need to convince companies that long term, they're going to make more money if people feel secure in their investments, that they actually have an asset that has property rights associated with it. So for me, it is definitely the same thing as you guys were saying, that it's convincing big companies to get in. But I think it's really figuring out and demonstrating sustainable business models for developers in the Web2 space to switch to Web3. Because if they're going to make less money and it's not going to do them any good, I don't think you'll see the big companies, especially that have shareholders and all those pressures, switching anytime soon. In fact, we're seeing it go the opposite direction. And it's interesting, you look at Epic as they're very positive about NFTs, but I highly doubt you'll see NFTs in Fortnite anytime soon, if ever, because they've got such a machine, churning a one-way, business model for them. So it's really interesting to see and talk about this stuff. But I think we're going to have a huge problem if consumer sentiment doesn't change around NFTs in the industry, because I think NFTs are a consumer-focused movement, and if consumers don't see it that way, that's tough. So I think there's going to be a bit of education that's required to incentivize consumers to really start demanding that the developers do this.
May I step in here and comment on what you mentioned? I absolutely agree with everything that you said. Specifically, and I think the biggest, as you mentioned, there's two bigger things. One, there has to be natural sentiment and natural interest and demand for this. Because honestly, NFTs right now, I'd say the sentiment around them is an all-time low when it comes to people outside of the industry. Because if you remember, originally just the crypto industry is kind of ahead of a bad light right now. Because if you remember back in like 2017, when Bitcoin hit nearly 20K, everybody was going crazy around it. Everybody wanted to get into crypto. Everybody wanted to find out how to invest in it, how to buy more Bitcoin, because the hype was real and everybody thought it's going to go to 100K. Well, it went to 60, but sky's the limit. But the atmosphere was completely different. And when NFTs became famous, it became an issue of, yes, the idea fundamentally is very beneficial. It's giving power back to the consumers, is owning what you purchase. And instead of what essentially a lot of big companies that do, especially gaming companies, take Blizzard, for example, you bought your skins in Call of Duty 2019. They released the latest Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. They're reselling you the same skins for $30 with just another paint job. And you already have those skins in your previous game, but you can't port them because the essential control is always going to be with the corporation. So there is, I would say there's a little bit of a conflict of interest, because in order for such a big technology to have a big mass adoption, it has to be supported by a big business, especially in the gaming world. But for a lot of the corporations, they want to retain that control and retain that, because control in the end is revenue for them. So if they're going to invest in NFTs or blockchain as a technology, it's going to be to tilt the scales in their favor away from the consumers. So that is essentially the fundamental issue that I see there. And second issue is, I think it's a big problem of demographics of that's preventing just cryptocurrencies and NFTs of becoming widely adopted. Because if you look demographically, the generations that have all the money and can afford NFTs, because let's face it, a lot of NFTs are very expensive. And that's usually the Gen X and the boomers, but they're not very technically savvy. On the other hand, the generations that are technically savvy, which are the millennials and the Zoomers, they don't have enough money to do all the trading. So it's essentially a demographic impasse. What you essentially want are the people who have the know-how and the money, which is a very narrow niche of in any demographic. So we either have to reduce the prices to make them more accessible to the younger generations, or reduce their technical barrier of entry for the older generations. Ideally, you would do both.
I can jump in on that if no one minds. I mean, yeah, I totally agree. Like we have to reduce the technical barriers to entry, especially, I think is really keeping a lot of people out. Like, this is so hard to do. It's so hard to, explain to someone they've got to set up a wallet and put some cryptocurrency in it, and they need to get that from an exchange, and they need, there's so many steps to that piece of the puzzle. But I want to touch on one of the other things that was said about this. I think part of the reason that gamers hate NFTs actually has nothing to do with NFTs, and has everything to do with the way the gaming industry has treated gamers for the last 10, 20 years. Like in gaming for the last 10, 20 years, I've heard people at game studios talk about, rubbing their hands with glee. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could charge a player per bullet to play this game? And the gouging that has happened in the gaming industry, like gamers want a game for $60 that they can play for 10 years and they never have to spend another penny on it. Game companies want to charge you as much as they can for every possible interaction. That's unfair. I'm definitely tarring entire industries and people with a lot of different brushes there, but like by and large, that's where we're at. Like gamers want the most value and publishers want the most value. So there's not a lot of trust. And I think it really mystifies those of us who are interested in Web3 gaming, because we look at what you could do with a Web3 game, and it's like, wait, this unlocks so much value for the gamer, and it's just really about shifting that perception. And the thing I've seen with this, I've worked on a couple of AAA Web3 game projects now in the last couple of years, and a lot of them probably won't end up coming out because of where sentiment is. But there's one thing that I remember someone I was working with on this game project. It was for a giant AAA franchise, one of the biggest franchises in the world. And one of the artists I was working on with it said to me, my dad and I, we used to play this game together when we were kids. And he passed away when I was a kid. And I would give anything to have those skins that me and my dad had when we would play together. And, that hit me like nothing else anyone has said to me in the space, because it made me realize that the thing that we haven't unlocked about NFTs generally, but especially in gaming, the most valuable thing about NFTs in gaming is the sentimental value of an NFT in gaming. Like I know all of us have grinded so hard for months on a game to get some skin or some weapon or something that we were super proud to have, and now you don't have it anymore because it's on your old PlayStation, or you dropped your Nintendo in the Switch in the bath or whatever. Like we've all grinded for things that we absolutely prized, and we've lost them. And if I say that, if I try and have that argument with a gamer who hates NFTs on Twitter, I'm gonna lose. They're gonna be more entrenched in their opinion. So I think it's on us as the Web3 gaming industry to really show gamers like why these are valuable. And if enough good games come out, and every big company is thinking about Web3, even if publicly they're telling you they're not. I know this for a fact. I've worked on a bunch of these games, but a lot of them I think aren't going to get it right. And I think the hard thing for big IPs with anything crypto related is they look at it and it's interesting and they see the potential, and there's a team in there in the big company that's trying to work on something, but then the legal team sees that the SEC is suing Binance and Coinbase today. It's like, shut this down. We don't want to get sued. If the SEC goes after any of these big movie companies or gaming companies, just the headline that the SEC fined big company X, like the thing that decimates their stock price for the day or the quarter potentially. So there's all these like factors at play that are going to make it hard, I think, for big companies to do the most imaginative things and do the things that gamers really want to see. And it's I think it's going to be companies like Satoshiverse and builders like the people in the space right now who really understand, like, this is the future, but we've got to show a new generation of kids why it's interesting. We've got to make it easy. And I think the most important thing, we've got to unlock the sentimental value of NFTs, because that's the $1 trillion opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'm sure we could keep talking on this topic for another hour, but in interest of time, we want to get onto some individual questions for each of you. And Matt, we'll actually do the first one to you. So as you mentioned, storytelling is very much at the heart of what you're building at Broadside. And you've told us a little bit about the story, but I was curious if you could tell us more about how that story actually comes through on the kind of like the NFT experience.
Yeah, sure thing. So the story is about a group of kids, 7,000 kids, who play this game called Broadside, which is this augmented reality game. It's set in the year 2037. A bunch of different tech has scaled. The Metaverse has effectively scaled. 3D printing. A lot of stuff has got to the point where it means that we're sort of really operating in an economic environment controlled more by abundance than scarcity. That's really what the heart of Broadside is about, is what happens when that flips to society. And the way this flips in society is this anonymous kid, hacks Broadside, the game, so they can change the software, both their sort of hardware armor and also the software the NFTs, the weapons, all the stuff. They just want to mess around with the game. But the way they hack the game, it lets you hack any 3D printer on the planet and print whatever you want in this very sort of closed loop society that we've sort of matured into. So all hell breaks loose. And then these kids are sort of forced into hiding, and they're forced to go on this journey and think about scarcity versus abundance, copying and remixing versus piracy, centralization versus decentralization, but in a way that's very much like it reads like an action movie is sort of how we wanted to sort of build it. The way that it works functionally is the idea that there's this one anonymous kid who's the hero. Nobody really knows who they are except you, the reader. And all you know is that they managed to get 7,000 of their friends together and take on this big company that controls everything. So we released 7,000 characters, and each one's got a different name and a different identity. And then you, as the reader, you know that your character is central to the story, and you get your Broadside character, and then we've been dropping episodes of Broadside as a written story to holders of Broadsiders over the last 6-7 months since we launched last November. And if your character is called Nick, you're reading about the hero of Broadside is called Nick. And if I'm reading it and my character is called Matt, I'm reading the same story from the perspective of Matt, but we all know that we're the hero, but the hero is anonymous. So we wanted to create this this kind of decentralized hero where everybody's having this shared experience, big part of this story together, and everybody knows that, it doesn't really matter who the hero of Broadside is. It's about this group working together. The sort of the tagline of the whole project is none of them are as strong as all of us. And we wanted to just make it as inclusive as possible, of both other NFT projects and all the different people who might be reading Broadside. So, for us, it was this was a story we spent 10 years working on, and we could never find a way to tell it. And we've told stories in lots of other contexts. Myself and my co-founder Vector worked in media a long time and done a lot of stuff. But Broadside was this one thing we couldn't figure out what to do with it. And then when PFPs came around, it was like, wait, this is how you do a decentralized hero, and everybody gets to be part of it. So it was a message we had for a while, just waiting for the right medium.
I love it. No, that there's so many, you're saying all this, and there's so many similarities with how we crafted our lore and kind of teaching blockchain themes indirectly and making the holder the hero of the story. I think that's awesome, and a lot of that is present in our lore as well. So I definitely, people who've enjoyed our lore definitely check out Broadside, because I think that's you'll find that their lore is also very, very similar and has a lot of really cool stuff in it that makes it extremely unique. I guess Spencer, go on with the next question.
Yeah, sure thing. And also I'll say as having a few Broadsiders myself, I've really loved the experience so far, and I'm really excited to continue and follow the journey. So next question is to Goran. So can you tell us a little bit more about Crypto Idol Miner and how it's evolving into NFT City Miner, and kind of how that all fits into the greater Horrorverse?
Yeah, sure. So Crypto Idol Miner has started as a regular mobile idle game. It is a game where the numbers are incrementing every time when you upgrade some, in our case, mining rigs, or the traders that are trading the currencies that are mined inside the game. And it's the simulation about the mining of cryptocurrencies. So you have the electricity that you are producing, you have the mining rigs that are spending the electricity, and you have the traders that are selling the cryptocurrencies that are made and produced by mining rigs. So we have tried to teach the people how the mining works through the game, and we started rewarding the users based on their position on the leaderboard. So everybody who gets entered the leaderboard will get some portion of the Hora tokens, which are our own cryptocurrency. And that cryptocurrency doesn't have any utility at the moment. and we didn't build for inside the crypto idle miner game. But on what we are working right now is to recreate the whole economy and make the horror token works in other game, which is the name NFT City Miner. The reason why we are creating the NFT City Miner is that we wanted to bring the NFTs inside the game, and our opinion was, okay, the Crypto Idle Miner is the great game for the free-to-play users that would like to enter the space. So you doesn't need to have anything to download the game from the mobile store. You just need to install and play the game. When the tokens are earned, you need to create a wallet and withdraw the tokens. That system works really well. We had, I think, 60,000 token holders withdrawn on the Tron network. And right now we are migrating to the Binance Smart Chain, and there will be Polygon network as well in the near future. So connection between the NFT City Miner and Crypto Idle Miner is that you are playing the free-to-play game, Crypto Idle Miner. You are receiving the horror tokens, and beside that, you will receive some parts that will be used to assemble the NFT GPU. Those NFT GPUs will be rewards that you are bringing to our second game, and use them to assemble the whole mining rigs. Those mining rigs will be used to mine the new currency, which is the horror coin. And in that case, you will need to invest some kind of crypto, like probably it will be the Ethereum. And those Ethereum will be used to guarantee the price of those mining rigs and to guarantee the minimum price of the horror coin. So in that case, we are making the experience like it is with mining the Bitcoin, where the users are spending money to pay the electricity that is used to mine the Bitcoin. And that is the real producing price of the currency. So we have found that it is not the case with the tokens, ERC-20 tokens generated on any kind of blockchain network. So that's the field that we are trying to make some innovations and trying to fit with the game itself. So we will have the entry point for the free-to-play users, and we will have the entry point for the NFT Web3 users that would like to invest in order to earn more.
Awesome. Well, I still have a bunch of horror tokens from when I used to play the game back in like 2018. So you'll definitely have to let me know when you guys are migrating off of Tron so I can make sure I move those over.
Actually, we have published 2 months ago our Web3 tool called the Horror Hub. Horror Hub will be the central place which will be used for all our projects. And right now, if you join the Horror Hub Discord, you will be able to open the website and log in with your Horror ID and start the migration of the tokens. It is just a few clicks left. So actually, right now you can do it.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll do that later today. Yeah. Thanks.
And you asked me for the purpose in the Horrorverse. So the horror coins will be the premium currency of the Horrorverse, and it will be used as currency for the governance and probably the NFT marketplace. There will be some in-app purchases as well. So that will be the main currency used in our other games.
Awesome. Thank you. So moving on to Boris. So as an analyst for DappRadar, you must really have your pulse on what's going on in the market. I was wondering if you could tell us what some of the biggest or newest trends that you're currently tracking in Web3
are. Right now, one of the bigger trends, as we're saying, is that unfortunately, not everything is great. But when it comes to regards to the activity on the various chains and the crypto economy as a whole, which is we've seen a reduction in terms of gaming, where we registered around 1 million unique active wallets in April. And at the end of May, unfortunately, gaming has given way to DeFi as the premium platform. So that it dropped by around 30%. And that is mainly explained by Splinterlands and Alien Worlds purging a lot of the bots. So it's not only that the users are migrating from one pillar of the crypto economy into another, but it's also the fact that a lot of the bossing activity that's happening in the crypto gaming universe is getting purged. We're seeing a lot of activity building on the Sui chain. Right now, it accounts for 34% of new games published in May. One of the bigger ones are AVA, which is Alliance of Valiant Arms, a very well-known Korean FPS shooter. I actually played it way back when, I wouldn't say as a kid, but around like 2012. So it's an OG, it's a very old school game. And now they're porting it to the world of blockchain gaming. Other than that, we're seeing a significant drop in virtual worlds or the metaverse worlds, where we've seen the height was around 160 million in March. It dropped to 41 million in April, and unfortunately dropped even further to our current calculations to 8 million. And that's mostly due to other side having a significant decline and dropping by 65%. Let's see, what are some other things? Overall, the numbers are good in the sense that the unique active wallet activity has grown, and we're now at the same level where we're at around 2 million active users as of May. And we are about the same levels where we were back in October. Of course, the height was summer of last year, so around June, July, where we had around 3 million, but we still got a ways to go.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, that's some really, really awesome insight. And yeah, for anyone listening, definitely make sure you go to DApp Radar if you want to dig in deeper on any of those things and learn some more. Before we get on to our last question for Eric, we do a giveaway every week on our space where we're give away one of our NFTs from Satoshiverse. And this week we're going to be giving away the Satoshi Saves Lives LA Comic-Con NFT trading card. So the winner this week is Viking Ginger Giant, or at Cameron 985, a bunch of numbers. Congratulations on winning your prize. Please send us a DM and we'll make sure to get you that. Then Eric, so W3W is developing a platform that specifically targets data analytics for Web3 projects. In the context of the Web3 space, how do you perceive the significance of data analytics, and which types of data have you seen projects placing greater emphasis on?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So yeah, as I'm sure a majority of us has come into the Web3 space with some sort of Web2 background, as Nick mentioned earlier, data knowledge is king, and that's, I think, everything that a project needs. I think the biggest challenge within Web2 data is it's always siloed. It's almost never in one place. You have marketing data, e-commerce data, user data, et cetera, and it's basically stored differently in different countries depending on the privacy and storage laws. So it's a bit of a mess. In Web3, everything is pretty much on chain. I think the only challenge here is getting the real insights out of the plethora of data, and that's how we're helping these projects. In terms of the types of insights and data, I think it really depends on the project. NFT projects want something different than gaming projects, than DeFi projects. Well, specifically within the gaming space, I would say some just a few of the key data points that some people have been requesting to see are like, who's playing my game? Are they Web3 gamers? Are they big spenders? Are they whales? How's my project performing compared to other similar games? I think some of this data you can also probably find on DApp Radar, right? And I think a little bit of a teaser as to what we've been working with other projects on is one, bringing in the in-game data into the platform as well. So being able to understand how people are playing the game via an API call into our platform and pulling that data to really have that data really be all in one place, not just on-chain data, but in-game data as well. And also, a lot of the leadership team, including myself, are from a fraud detection company that leverages unsupervised machine learning, which is just a fancy way of saying it's an AI bot that pretty much goes into the data and searches for outliers on its own. And basically what we're doing is trying to bring this to the Web3 space and find insights from data such as bad actors, bots, scammers, anti-money laundering, stuff like that. So, really to clean up the space, data is going to be key to bringing this space forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Nick, I'll throw it back to you to close us up for today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you, everyone. We ran a little bit beyond our hours, so thank you for everyone for sticking around. Really appreciate all of you taking time out of your busy schedules. This was an awesome panel. I learned a ton. Really, really smart people on this panel. Really happy that everyone was able to join. And, this hopefully is just the beginning of conversations with all of you. I'm hoping that, we can continue working together. I think one word that surprisingly didn't get mentioned as much as I would have liked maybe in this group is collaboration. And I think collaboration is key to all of this. I think if we're going to succeed, given all of the barriers against us as an industry and where we are now, I think we all have to work together and really build towards a common purpose. So this weekly space is our initial attempt to do that and to make sure we have our thumb on the button of what's going on in the industry. And we're fortunate, and I'm fortunate, to be able to have these conversations with all these amazing builders in the space. So I look forward to talking to each of you further, trying to figure out interesting ways that we can collaborate and make awesome stuff for our communities. But if you want to, say any last words, please feel free to. For the audience, please do, like I said before, check out all the different projects that joined, look deeper, see what they're building. I know there's some awesome stuff here for you to find. So thank you so much for joining, everybody, and to everybody that's going to be watching the recorded spaces later.
Yeah, just if anyone, feel free to DM me if you have any questions or interested in checking us out. This website's pretty simple, just w3w.ai. But yeah, as Nick mentioned, collaboration is key to moving this space forward. So let's all work together.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week and a nice weekend. And we will talk to all of you next week. Nice seeing everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you, everyone. Thank you much. Thanks for having us.